my name is Shine. As you can see, I have upgraded my recording setup. I hope you all enjoy the increased audio quality. In other news, I have the largest collection of changes made yet. Yes, indeed. Pawns now have death animations. Helmets, as well. I'm too lazy to attach the helmet to the neck bone for now, but trust me, I'll be working on that in the future. Gravestones, which are lootable. And I'm pretty sure they're working right now. Like 80% sure, maybe a little bit less. I broke them at some point. I'll work on a fix. We now have ranged attacks. And lastly, I also implemented load defaults, which although isn't very useful for any of you, is extremely helpful for me. It helps me work a lot faster. Yes, so college, as you can imagine, has kept me really busy. So much so it has been 2 whole months since my last upload. My subscribers even asked me when I would be uploading again. In person. I also promised I would have a tower defense simulation. Well, this is what I have. As you can see here, there are 3 pillars. A pawn runs between them, and the tower pawns will throw javelins at him. Unfortunately, the tower pawns will also hop off their towers. That part is not good. So you might be asking, Shine, what is this unfinished product? I was promised a tower defense simulation. Right you are. The issue is that getting pawns to not move is a little more complex than I first thought. Although I could code it in, coding it in well, or coding it in that's not like in a very hacky way, it's a bit more difficult than you might first think. It requires some AI changes. So I'm going to explain why it's difficult for me to just take my pawn, here he is, and just freeze him in place. Take away his legs and have that be my tower. Up here on his little tower. There's a couple issues with that solution. First, it's a hack. And honestly, I don't like hacks. They don't play out long term. And 2, it'd brick their AI. Basically what would happen is the tower pawn would get in his head. Here's a little thought bubble. He'd get in his head, he's like, alright, I am going to throw a spear. And he'd sit there and he would try to throw the spear at the pawn who is currently walking by. But the issue is that if the vision range of the pawn is not the same as his weapon range. So let's say the tower pawn can only, let's say he sees 10 units, but he can only throw the spear 5 units. The issue is that the pawn is basically going to sit here, and as long as this guy is within his vision range, he's going to be bricked. He's going to be stuck just trying to throw the spear, which is a pretty poor solution. And again, not only that, it's not moving the project forward for me to just freeze pawns in place. No, instead, what I want to do is I want to implement a much more dynamic solution that would have more opportunities for immersive gameplay. So let's say we have a pawn and he is trying to fight. He's trying to fight a wizard. Here's the little sword. But then the wizard, who is quite smarter than he is, with his little hat, he roots him in place, takes away his legs. Now, instead of the swordsman just getting stuck, like my current implementation would be, just trying to attack the wizard, what you'd instead want is for the warrior to realize that he cannot move, and perhaps he realizes that his health is low, and he decides to heal himself. Or perhaps he takes out his throwing daggers, and he throws those at the evil wizard. It's a good opportunity to show off how smart these pawns can be contextually. If they react to their environment instead of just stupidly sitting there and waiting to attack the wizard. For me to implement that, I'm not exactly sure how I would do it. I would have to make certain goals. Basically, goals that require movement would have to be aware of whether the pawn has an ability to move, or if the pawn finds himself unable to move for whatever reason. Perhaps he's stuck in the ground. I don't know. And I just don't feel like implementing that right now. I feel like it would take a considerable amount of time, and with that time I would be better preparing for other things in the future or solving more important problems. In addition to that, the purpose of this channel is to hopefully attract viewers to the project, which I can hopefully convert into contributors and make this a great, big, awesome project. The channel can't do that if it's dead. Alright, now that I'm on the subject of problems, let's run through the largest issues I'm currently facing. You might have noticed that the helmets I created both don't look like helmets and aren't bound to the head of the pawn. They just kind of sit there and float while the head moves around. It's not very good. That's because I rage quit Blender, because I'm not very good at exporting Blender files to Godot while maintaining bone extensions. So, I ran into a lot of issues like that. So, hopefully sometime in the future, someone else will join who's a lot better at Godot, but until then, I will continue to try to make the simulation of my dreams in purely engineering art. Now, more pressingly, the UI for this game is dismally bad. By dismally bad, I mean it's completely worthless. It tells you the name of the pawn, which is always Testy McTesterson, and whether or not the pawn is dead or alive, which thus far has not been relevant for any bugs I need to solve. So another big step I'm going to take is to make an actual debugging UI and include visualization. So you can click on a pawn, see what's in its inventory, see what it's currently trying to achieve, perhaps even see what it can see in a sense. So you can, there's a structure in my code called senses struct, which is how pawns take input. So if I could post that, then I would be able to see everything that a pawn sees. And this one's pretty short, but currently I'm on Godot 3. Godot 4 is bigger, better, shinier. So I'd like to update to that as soon as I can. So with all that in mind, here's the current game plan. First, I'm going to migrate to Godot 4. While I'm doing so, I'm also going to do my last big refactor of the code and try to make it as clean as I possibly can. Then I will try to squash all the bugs I can find, rewrite the documentation. That's going to be the next devlog, hopefully. Once all that's done, I will actually open source the project on GitHub, at which point other people will be able to join me. And in terms of videos I'm going to create, I'm going to put out a video describing my vision for this game in the future. So outside of devlogs, I'll go in and show hey, this is what I want the simulation to become in the future. This is what it currently is. These are the incredible mountain of steps we'd have to take to get there, but it'd be cool if we did. And yeah, that brings me to the end of my devlog, so I hope you all enjoyed listening, and I hope to see you next time.